take me off.
You're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower right here in absolutely gorgeous but rainy Northport, Florida. So I'll give a quick update. If you guys are out on the road right now, please take your time. I just adjusted the sound a little bit on the radio. I'm making some changes as we go here. So I apologize for blasting you out of your car or out of your house, but now we've got the sound adjusted. Should be good for you. And I just going to throw a quick reminder. If you're out driving around or about to, take your time. It's not worth going to the hospital for the holiday weekend because you're a trauma alert. The rain is coming down, and oil and rain don't mix. Remember to drive safely and get everyone else home safely. If you decide to drive fast, just go ahead and drive into the ditch right now and get it over with, and save other people's lives. That's my inspirational moment. So keep your wheels in contact with the pavement. Drive safely, drive slow, and get everybody else home safely. And I've got an extremely special guest in the house who always adds a lot to the show. And she's muted right now. Are you there, Vanessa?
I am here.
All right, Vanessa Carussone in the house today. So how are things going with you this week?
They're going. I'm driving in the rain right now. So yeah.
So normally you're on the air with me live, and people can see your beautiful smile, and now we get to just imagine that as you're driving down 75, right?
Yeah, you're gonna have to have a really good imagination. It's driving, number one, and it's 75, number two.
Yeah. And most scenarios are not good with that, right?
No, none of them bring in a smile to my face. No.
So we've got a lot happening in the city of Northport, and you are kind of like our go-to person to talk about the upcoming agendas. Is there anything out there new that city residents should be paying attention to?
Okay, well, I gotta be truly honest. I haven't looked at the future agendas because they had August off. So I've been kind of, well, as you know, I've been really sick the last 3 weeks. I mean, super sick. So because of that, I've got so much to kind of catch up on now. But I did get to watch, the interviews. I went to the old tapes and got to see the interviews for the city manager, and I'm glad they chose the new city manager that they did. I think he stood out above the rest, and I can't tell you what's coming up because I haven't looked into it. I'm a failure. What can I tell you?
Well, and you're not, because you've been successful at running a campaign and being elected, seriously, 3 times in the city of Northport. Just so you know, Mr. William Chuck English, the superstar, as followers go, said good afternoon. Always enjoy Vanessa's perspective. So right now, there's a good chance we got a listener out there.
Woo!
But I want to talk a little bit about the city manager for a second. Your perspective on not this city manager yet. I don't want to talk about him yet. I want to talk to you about the importance of a city manager and the position and why it's valuable to the city and commissioners.
Well, the city manager has the business sense behind them. They have the accounting, they have the management, they have the ability to run several different departments at the same time. hold the management of those departments, accountable. And, they're pretty much, that clown that's got the bunch of plates on that one little, you know, stick and trying to do them all at the same time without breaking them. Well, that's the city manager. God bless them. They got to have a little bit of psychology behind them in the same sense, because you're dealing with 5 different personalities. Don't forget that.
Absolutely.
That. So you have to have someone that has this balance of being specifically professional, um, understanding how government works, understanding the limitations, but also understanding that he has or she has 5 bosses. And how do you find a way to compromise with those 5 bosses uh, on the fly, mind you, in a public meeting? So, I think a city manager's position is probably one of the most important positions there is in the city of Northport, next to the city attorney, of course.
And they kind of work hand in hand together on a lot of topics, don't they?
They have to. They have to, because, the city attorney, of course, by charter, she has to evaluate everything that comes before the commission. I can't even imagine what her office and her staff are going through right now. There just seems to be so much going on that they do it at such a minimal amount of people that I've never understood how Amber can do it. I really don't, because I think she's fantastic. Um, but yeah, she and the city manager have to work hand in hand, because, the city manager, whatever action he does, uh, has a legal responsibility to it. So, no matter what happens, be it a labor issue or a decision by the commission, or maybe even a workman's compensation case, all those things are going to go through the legal department. They may be outsourced if it needs a specialty, but all those things are part and parcel to what the city manager is responsible for. So there is definitely a partnership between the two entities.
And you've been around a long time here in Northport. I'm not going to say how long unless you want to, but
Long enough that Price Boulevard didn't go all the way down.
right there you go. So there's perspective. Um, the question that is kind of glaring to me is that you've been around long enough to see a lot of transitions
Oh,
from
Lord,
from
yes.
manager to manager.
Let's
What's
see.
Go ahead.
I think that I have been sat on at least 7 city manager interview, changeovers. Um, and that goes from, interim city managers to actual, appointed city managers to contract city managers. Um, so, yeah, I've seen a lot of city managers in my day.
And with every transition, there's a, and I don't want to call it a lag time, because I want to give this guy kind of the benefit of the doubt when he comes in here. I have a feeling just about him in what I've heard. I've not met him yet. I'm looking forward to that, but from what I heard of his energy level, um, I think he's going to come in with wheels turning and hit the ground going, and I think we need that, because we've had good leadership in the manager role, but we haven't had a true manager during the interim. Correct?
Oh, that's correct. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've had assistant city managers step in several times.
Correct.
But, the problem with that is that when an assistant city manager gets in there and they're in an interim role, they feel like they're limited. It's not their fault that they don't get a lot done, because a lot of times people in those positions believe that the decisions that need to be made should be made by the permanent city manager. So that's why a lot of things kind of get placed on hold.
Right.
But to be honest, I mean, in this particular candidate, I see him bringing so much to the city, as far as not only his background, but his connections, his ability to understand not only the local level, but also on a more county and federal level. And I think that all in of itself is a huge kudos to him. Plus his accounting experience. I mean, let's face it, we need someone who knows that budget and how numbers work and where those different revenue sources will come from or can come from. So I am still coughing, believe it or not. It's been a month.
Hang in there, kid.
But anyways, where was I going with that? My point is that I too believe that he's going to hit the ground running with certain things. Okay. I do believe that he is going to make it a priority to educate the public on different types of aspects of government. His dashboard idea, just phenomenal. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's something he had implemented in his last location, but I understanding that something that I've been talking about for 15 years is that this website is just not user friendly. It's not for the city. And you shouldn't have to go to the website just to get your information. There should be a multitude of avenues. The paper, Facebook. Now we've got the big surge of, what is that one that's got music and the pictures and the TikTok? Everybody's using TikTok.
Yes,
So, he understands that you've got to bring the information to them. And this is something that I've been touting for so many years. And it was just such a breath of fresh air to hear someone actually say, wait a minute, we're doing this wrong. You know what I mean? And I shouldn't say wrong, just it can be done better. And I was excited to hear that. And so my point is, I think that what he's going to do is that he's going to come in and hit the ground running on some of the things that are blatantly obvious, right? What is going to take time is the fact that we have a huge problem with the amount of employees we have lost over this last 2 years. Since our last city manager has left, we have just had a deluge of people leaving. And so
in some key spots, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I mean, spots that it's going to be really tricky trying to find, replacements. Anyways, my point is that I think that building the employee morale as well as replacing the the staffing level is going to be one of his hardest or most lengthy goals, and people are gonna have to be patient with him, because we don't want just someone appointed. We just don't. We want someone appointed to a variety of positions that have the experience, that bring to the city what it is that the city needs. And so let's stop just placing people in there to place them. We need people who know what they're doing, because we're over that. We're too big for that. We've got too much going on for that. Let's get it done.
Well, can you put the question back up on the screen? If you're on the radio, we are live on Facebook also. Brian Lincoln posted a question. Hi, Vanessa. He says, do you think the city manager needs to lead once the commission gives the direction, including leading the commission to the identified goal?
Wow. Okay. Well, hi, Brian. How are you? First of all, the city manager always works at the behest of the commission. Let's remember that. So, unfortunately, whether he likes it or not, whatever that commission majority decision is, that is his lead. Now, as an individual commissioner, you are not allowed to direct staff or the city manager. It has to be a body that directs him as to what that position is. So, as far as that side of the coin, absolutely. He's going to have to take whatever it is that the commission directs, and accomplish it to the best of his abilities within the law. Okay, because let's face it, we know that there's been times in the past that the commission has given direction only to find out a few months later, maybe that's not so legal. So, and let's not forget, there's also times when you start it off and then things go awry and we have to change goals. You know what I mean? So I think the key to that is always communication. The city manager is going to have a large duty ahead of him to make sure there's constant communication between him and the commission while staying within the sunshine law. So that's that side. As far as keeping the commission in check, I agree wholeheartedly that a city manager, as well as a city attorney, it is their duty to make sure that these city commissioners understand the risk and reward. They've got to understand what is it that you can do within the limitations of the law, because everybody believes that as a city, you just have this carte blanche ability to do whatever you want to do, but that is not true. You have to stay within the letter of the law, not only through the state, but through the federal level. So that is why it's so important to have a city attorney. But in the same token, someone of his caliber, I do believe he's going to have some extensive knowledge about how the federal level plays a role in what he can and cannot do, or rather the city can and cannot do, when it comes to making decisions. So I do believe it's their responsibility to kind of keep them in check. Now, if a commission makes the determination to go against what it is that either he or their city attorney has said, there's nothing more you can do from there. You've done what you can as a city manager. You've explained that there may be repercussions from this. I know that I served with a commission where I had a couple of commissioners that literally on a constant basis, after being told that there is a legal issue with our decision, have said, well, you know what? Let them sue us. And to me, I have never taken that position. You know that. I've always been the one to say, this doesn't look like something that is not only legal, but definitely not defensible. So, and maybe that's just my background, but honestly, I think that the city manager and the city attorney really have to kind of try and walking a very tight line of explaining to the commission that their actions may have a repercussion, and then it's up to them. It's up to them, and they know this.
So I'm going to go back. Can you bring back the second question that was asked about price. I just want to read that to her, Vanessa. Kenny Anderson, thanks for the question, Kenny. Is the new manager going to get things done that have been kicked down the road for the past 15 to 20 years, i.e., widening of Price Boulevard?
So I can't really blame the city manager on a Price Boulevard issue. I really can't. You know, the bottom line is funding. And so until the commission and, you know, the finance department and the city manager kind of get together and find some sort of different manner to actually, you know, pay for Price Boulevard's widening, I don't know if that's a city manager problem until it's actually paid for. I mean, we just turned around and I shouldn't say we, I wasn't there, but the commission, because I have to be very careful. A lot of people still believe I'm on the commission. But the city commission kind of turned around and said that the money that they're going to go and get from the CARES Act, a good proportionate amount of it is going to go towards expanding sewer and water out in a variety of areas. And that's great, but shouldn't we kind of handle what's already on the plate? You know, that's my personal opinion. I understand why they did it. Don't get me wrong. It's all about economic development. But in the same token, I feel that economic development, okay, be specific. Let's be a little bit more specific as to where you want to go. Maybe one area and, you know, utilize that. And so that would reduce the monetary amounts that you're going to use. But it's so difficult because, yes, the city manager can get his people together and he can kind of inspire the fact that this is a project that's been on the board for a long time. Now we got to figure out how will we get this done and then bring it to the commission. The problem is that when the commission creates, you know, more goals on top of the goals that already exist that have not been addressed or have been addressed.
Hold on, we lost you here a little bit, Vanessa. And see if you can come back here in a second. I know she's driving. I know there's some rainstorms out there. Kenny, that's a good point. The widening of Price Boulevard has been on for quite a while. Vanessa's coming back on here in a second, but it according to what she is saying is that there's some stockpiling of old projects that are out there, and because the old projects that are out there now, the new commission has now put more projects out there. I believe that's where she's going with it. And until she comes back on, I'm going to be on the air by myself until she gets back. But Kenny, you're not wrong on some of your assessments. A lot of us are frustrated, myself included, with some of the adjustments that are out there that are causing issues. The problem we're going to have is at some point, infrastructure is going to be a huge piece of a problem. And if you think Price Boulevard isn't there now, it's going to be there soon. I'm hoping that they can address it. I'm hoping the new city manager will get directed to address it more. I know that there's some funding being found along those lines. I'm going to text her real quick just so we can get her back on the air. But there's some funding that they're trying to find, and funding is an issue because unless you have some matching funds, first off, you have to have the matching funds. Second off, you have to have the government who's willing to match those funds. So there's some work that has to be done, that needs to be addressed. And I know that she's going to come back in a short period of time and jump right back into this. But we actually have had this conversation in the past, and part of the problem with Price Boulevard is the funding side of it, and also the shifting of funds to other projects. Will a city manager help? I kind of hope that he settles in and gives good direction. As she was just explaining, the city manager can give good direction, but if the city commissioners aren't listening to the city manager and city attorney, they're going to go down the path that they're going to go down. There was another question right after that. I'm not sure if it was Mr. English or who it was. Can you put that up there? Kenny Anderson says, I agree, but the project has grandkids now. Yes, it does. Yeah, you're 100% correct. Thank you, Kenny. I appreciate your insight. Nice card too, by the way. I listened to, this is Brian Lincoln. I listened to the commission's workshop conducted yesterday. It seems that there are commissioners who have admitted difficulty in addressing current projects while thinking through future projects that need planning now. I'm quite sure that's the case. I think everybody, I've said this over and over again. Our commissioners are all, it's a diverse group. I agree with Mr. English. There's a diverse group of people out there that are in charge of our city right now, in charge of the direction. I also believe that they also have their own ideas on where to go with that. That's why they were elected. Anytime that you have the diversity and anytime that you have everyone going their way, there's a sunshine law in place there too. They're not allowed to talk to each other and kind of figure things out. They have to do that in a certain manner. I really want to have Vanessa come back on. She won't let me back on. Give me a minute. She is just getting to her location, so she's gonna jump back on the air, and I'll just tell her to call. Hold on one second. We've got a lot going on in the city, and to have this, to have a huge amount of projects out there. Mr. English just had one that is another hot topic. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and it's water capacity and the urban sprawl. There's a lot going on with water conditions, and I've got Vanessa. Hold on one second. I'm going to get her hooked up here. Vanessa, are you there?
You there?
I'm here. Go ahead.
All right. I can't guarantee that we're not going to get cut off again.
That's all right. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Anyways, what were we talking about?
We are actually talking about the widening of Price Boulevard, and really the delay there. I kind of went into that a little bit with the fact that the city manager can't direct that. Correct?
Well, I mean, he can direct anything that's already been given as a direction per se, but he can't turn around and just make decisions based off, we're going to spend this, this, and this.
Right.
So.
And I'm going to ask you a quick question for my listeners. I got the radio kind of working out here. I believe. Hopefully we've got things worked out there. Two things I want to ask the listeners. If you're listening on Facebook, can you hear me? If somebody can give me a quick audio check, that would be great. And if I can get Marie to do an audio check on the radio station through her radio or her computer, that would be awesome. I'm just trying to see if we've got a disconnection problem there. It doesn't happen very often live on the radio that I have to check these things, but I'm multitasking at this point. So here's a question I'm going to lead into with Mr. English. One of the major future problems are going to be the water capacity for the urban sprawl and the toilet to tap. Do you have any insight on that?
I'm not so sure that water capacity is going to be an issue. It really all depends on what we do with the orange hammock area and how we work a deal with the Peace River Water Authority as well as Swift Mud. Now, if you're going to say to me that water capacity and the cost of water is going to increase, I'll agree to that one. But do I think that water capacity is going to be an issue? I don't see that. I don't know what he means, toilet to tap. If he's saying that we're going to use reuse water, I know that they're talking about that, trying to figure out whether reuse water can actually be utilized. But I don't know if that's actually ever going to go to, if it's ever going to actually make it, because that one right there is kind of a touchy subject.
Yeah, I know that he's talked about that in the past, and that seems to be a really a topic that he's into at this point. I haven't heard that within the walls of the commission.
Chuck is into all environmental issues. I mean, he's all over the board. And if there's anyone who's been here as long as I have, it's Chuck. He knows a lot of the history that has gone on here in the city of Northport. So, he works off of what he knows to be true in the past. And so, it's not unfamiliar that I would ask Chuck, hey, do you remember whatever, and he would say, oh yeah, so he is a wealth of knowledge. But overall, a lot of people in the anti-growth world do believe that there's going to be a water capacity issue. And they believe that, the state of Florida is going to have issues because of drought conditions and because it's a big old sponge and, you got sinkholes and saltwater intrusion. But, I work on a city level. I look at the local level. And locally, I don't see that as an issue. Now, I have definitely been known to be wrong.
Only I think that's what, once or twice?
I don't know about that. I would go more than that. Shoot, I have 2 divorces. That's 2 right there.
All right, you burnt theirs. Chuck says we're going to pay through the nose with Peace River Water Authority.
And I agree with that. I think that what's going to happen is that with Swift Mud and Peace River having the ability to utilize that orange hammock area for water, I can't disagree. I really can't. And I have said that repeatedly, that, a lot of people don't understand that, that orange hammock deal was a killer. That was a killer.
All right. So let's go back for a second, because we have people who are listening now who, when you say the words orange hammock, and there could be people that are listening currently who have been here who don't understand what you're talking about. Can you give us a scenario about orange hammock and what happened?
So the Orange Hammock is a large piece of property that was owned by a farmer and specifically annexed into the city for development. But hi, how are you? Good. The development was by someone, or I should say this: the annexation was under the guidelines that we all knew it was going to be developed in an environmentally friendly manner.
Okay.
There's a lot of pieces of that area that needed specific attention because it had some unique features. Now, I wouldn't say that it had all of this, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? Environmentally sensitive lands. Yes, there were some wetlands, but the wetlands were kind of destroyed at the time, and so there's a lot to it. And what happened is that the person who purchased it wound up going bankrupt, and so when they went bankrupt, it went up for auction. And so in turn, what happened is that they wanted to preserve it, and the city did not step up and try and put money towards it, so they would. Instead, they turn around and hold on, they're in the midst of the store now. So they turned around and allowed the county, as well as the several different, a nonprofit entity, as well as some government entities, to kind of all gather together and purchase the property. And then there's 12,000 acres?
I believe so.
12,000 acres? Yeah, sounds familiar. But anyways, huge amount of acreage, and out of that acreage, I think it's 800 that's going to be sold off because it's not environmentally sensitive, and this is what I was trying to explain to them. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
What's the where we're at today, the effect, we have a cause and effect. So the cause and effect of Orange Hammock in the future is what?
Well, what happened is that Swift Mud had purchased it, as well as Peace River. And so what we do is we pay Peace River a certain amount every year, and it's kind of weird. We pay it by capacity fees. It's kind of like we believe we're going to use X amount of water from your facility. So in order to do that, they say, what's your capacity fee? And I think it's like a 14-year contract. And then that capacity fee is what we pay on a monthly basis. And so the point is that what we did was, that particular piece of property was supposed to be designated for future water use for the expansion. And so now we handed it over to a different authority that we will have to pay for ultimately, and took away our right to use that water. And we're going to wind up having to pay for it, and it's in our own property. So I don't know how that's going to work.
When did that happen?
I want to say 2.5 years ago, maybe. Yeah.
why? And I got to ask this: if faced with the decision to look at the future through water being a major resource issue for us, how could one not look to the future uh, with this piece of property and come out with a different outcome than what we did?
Well, I think what happened is that the bottom line is people looked at it. Well, those who wanted to purchase it and keep it from being developed were worried that the whole amount of property would be developed on a high scale development. And it was ultimately about making sure that the property was not overutilized and that the environmental factors weren't being considered. So it's a matter of, a shift in what's a priority. And I find this all the time. There's some times where you've got this huge pro build, we want to build. And then you've got this, nope, put a stop to all building. And, it's a yin and yang on a constant 4 to 16 year basis, So it's hard to say who's right, who's wrong. And the bottom line is that at that point in time, the powers that be believed that that was more important than making sure that we had a water source in the future because, there's a water source through East River Authority. There you go.
So, I'm listening to you explain this, and there's some frustration from my perspective on the decisions, and you can't go backwards a lot of times. But I want to ask it this way, because we have a lot of people who are really environmentally friendly. Okay. And I'm not saying I'm not. I'm not saying I'm picking on them. What I'm asking is, I think we have to start realizing we have to be both. We have to be protective of the lands, but we also have to learn how to take care of, say a water source, and really work that into the equation. So they're a good marriage together. I know that Orange Hammock has had multiple conversations about it over the past, 10 years or so. And people really want to get parts of that going. What's your thoughts on what we could do now if this were to be a topic of moving forward?
Well, it's all about a balance of both, and I think that was something that we had done in the past of trying to make sure that any development that took place on that property not only included water use, but also included a development that kind of focused around the natural environment that it was in. Not dissimilar to what West Villages was trying to do, and that was to try to create a downtown that took into consideration of its wetlands and kind of revamp those wetlands so that it could make them as more nice, so that it would look nice for people. And then with that said, they worked around those environmental factors. So I do think there's kind of a give and take and a way to do both. It's just a matter of getting the creative mind in there to see that it's possible.
As a past commissioner, I'm going to ask. I'm just going to ask you: are you frustrated with the direction that Orange Hammock has taken?
You can't get frustrated. How are you going to get frustrated? You know, I mean, yes, I was frustrated when I sat there. I think it's very frustrating when you know what the end result is, or at least you, and I shouldn't say you know it because you don't know it, but you got a pretty good belief system in what that end result's going to be. And not having the ability to show that to your other commissioners or your, you know, those who are supposed to be looking at it a little closer. 9 times out of the 10, people already know what they're going to do. It's not really about looking at the facts and making the decision based on what they see at that time. Unfortunately, it's more about, okay, well, I talked to so-and-so and they said, and so that's why I'm going to do it this way. And right, wrong, or indifferent, you know, they take the facts and they get educated based on the people that they speak to. And those aren't always the educated people. You know what I mean?
Well, I want to be careful to agree with that.
I'm trying to.
Because
what the bottom line is it actually circles back to the fact how important a city manager is.
All right.
Really.
So when that decision was made, did we have a city manager at that point?
We did. But, you know, again, they were reiterated over and over again by 2 different city managers. What is the cause? What is the effect? And so, you know, you can't. It goes back to the fact that the commission makes that final decision, and it's up to the city manager to just follow through with it.
So I'm going to go right back to something that is a pet peeve of mine at this point, because it's the vote. Mm-hmm. If people don't vote, you can't complain. If people don't vote,
I literally just had this conversation this morning about how, you know, people are so upset over this masks thing, and, you know, there's nothing they can do. They can't communicate with their school board members. And I said, well, there is something they can do. They just chose not to do it when it came time.
I know 3 of them that I'm not voting for.
Right.
So if I could vote for all 3, I'd vote no for all 3 that voted yes. So that's my way of saying, yeah, there is a way and you're right. There's definitely a way to communicate with people who are elected, and that's to elect them out or unelect them. It's a and you know, this is a hot button, and I was going to start out with this being the hot button for me earlier, because you've ran and won 3 times in the city of Northport. Mm-hmm. And you would probably, if you could run again, you'd probably win again. That's fact.
We'll see. I don't know about that, because honestly, the means of, well, just lack of education and how a handful of people can kind of make people believe something it just amazes me. So, you know, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I feel like at this point, it's really whoever has the biggest pocketbook is going to win. And it's sad because people don't do their homework. They just don't.
Well, and they don't vote.
Well, or they don't vote.
Yeah.
You know?
You
got 3 levels. You've got 4 levels. You've got those who don't vote, those who vote only based on what, you know, a handful of people can publish out on social media, because they surely don't read the paper. And then you have those who make the educated decision, and they may not know the candidate, but they're going to go back and they're going to try to find the information so that they can make an educated vote. And then you have those who are extremely involved, and they're either going to be the cause of misinformation or the cause of accurate information. So, you know, you have several different personalities there that are affecting our outcome of elections.
Well, and I've said this in the past. I'm not picking on the group that does that, because the group that does that, they're strong. They're
not strong.
They're very strong.
No, I don't think they're strong at all. I think it's a matter of there's a few people that listen, but a lot of people listen without checking facts. I mean, it's
that's why I think
they're not the only group.
That's why I think
we're talking internationally, for God's sakes, that people do this. You know, it's not.
I know.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing, and this is what I've said.
On just local groups, trust me.
This is what I've said, though, even on the local level. If you want to make a difference, get active and vote.
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean you have to spend 40 hours a week. And you know, if you don't vote, according to Mr. English, if you don't vote, don't starts with a B and rhymes with
my
itch.
Grandfather used to say, you know, my grandfather always told me, you know, listen, if you don't vote, you have no dog in the fight. You have absolutely no ability to complain.
Right.
And, you know, he would say, if you don't like it, you have a choice. You can make the difference. You can make the change. You can do something about it. And so, I mean, I swear to you, I was born a fighter. And so when I had a good friend tell me that I was not happy with the way that the city government was running, and they said, well, then maybe you should run for a commission. And I said, huh? And that was it.
Well, you know, we're trying to find ways to get people to listen, get engaged, understand what's happening. Northport Forward is a big push right now in getting things done, and just trying to get things to happen. Kenny Anderson, have a great day at work. I appreciate you being on, and thanks for the updates. I hopefully we'll get technical things worked out. Something happened during that storm, and I apologize if I'm disconnected out there, or we stayed live on the air for at least another 2 minutes. But I appreciate the feedback. But you know, people and the reason I told you that groups out there are strong on social media is because people like little bleeps of information. They and then they talk about the bleep without research, and they get a couple people snagged to go vote. And when you have a voting population that really doesn't vote, then it only takes a small fraction of people to make a difference. The easiest way to eliminate the small fraction of people who are driving a topic is to get a bigger fraction of people that vote, and then educate them.
And educate them.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and again, I go back to, I'm not just saying this, you know, vote. I mean, it's almost like the telephone game on a national level. And it's not just politics. It's just not, you know what I mean? It's not just politics. I was watching some sort of thing the other night, and they're talking about how there was a father of a missing child that was supposedly arrested. Well, someone that had some respect and clout behind them had to get on and say this is absolutely false. Well, that stupid little post went crazy, and everybody thought this man was arrested, and he wasn't. You know, so this is what I'm saying, is that it's on a national level where People just don't do the homework.
Well,
And
hold on a minute,
they
though.
have no-
We'll talk about this some more, but I'm going to run over my time. I've got about
Well,
9.
I gotta go soon. Huh?
All right, I got to go because I'm live on the air. And this is John Rawlings with
Okay.
Vanessa Carussone with Real Talk Radio 97.5 saying thank you and have a blessed day. We'll see you on Monday.